Mhm.
So to everybody that's joined us this afternoon, thank you and welcome. Thank you for joining. I trust it's going to be an interesting session. You're going to get some real benefit from it in terms of the knowledge and the new skills that you'll acquire and so forth. I want you to feel free to ask questions, and I'd like you to hold your questions right to the end. So if you hear something, jot it down. And then, of course, what you can do is at the end, you can refer to those questions. If you see something, grab your phone and take a photograph of the screen. So there are going to be links, there's going to be telephone numbers, there's going to be things, reference documents that you can jot down and or take a photograph of and go back to it. Then I'm going to introduce you to our team, or at least two members of our team. And if you miss out on something, you can always talk to them. On my left-hand side is Penny. I'm going to ask Penny just to quickly introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you this afternoon. So my name is Penny, and I am Ken's wife and also co-founder of INTRA some more than 14 years ago now. Can you believe it? And I just want to welcome a very special guest here today, Leonard van Antwerpen from the company Alva. Leonard, lovely to have you with us. Leonard is a paid-up licensee. I think he first joined us before 2019, if I'm not mistaken, but runs a highly, highly successful business. And I'm more on the finance side of the business and the delivery side of the business. I also focus a lot on the e-learning platform, and I'm also very heavily invested on the accreditation program that we offer. And Intra's going to give some more information. Ken, I'm saying Ken's Intra. He is That's true. Ken is going to give us more information about that and unpack that, and I'm going to just jump in as and when he needs me. So great to be here and looking forward to being of support to you. I see we also do have some licensees with us and some
Yep.
potential licensees, and looking forward to providing you with the support.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Penny, thank you so much. Penny is literally the boss. There's no question about it. Now, Natalie's going to cut all the waffle that we're doing up front out when she edits this video. So none of this is going to be in the recording, but it is very useful to know exactly who's here. So at this stage, having mentioned Natalie, you can see from her surname, it's the same as mine. Surname, it's Natalie is my daughter. She's also our customer relations manager, and she's amazing in terms of what she does. So with that, Nat, over to you. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Thanks so much. Yes. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Nati, and as Ken mentioned, I am the CRM manager. So I'm usually your first point of call on your journey to becoming a licensee. I'm here to help you with any initial questions you might have, any administrative things. I'm your go-to. You've probably already communicated with me already, but I will share my details in the chat, and you're more than welcome to get in touch as and when you need. So much.
Great. Natalie, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate the work that you do. Now, I'm going to do something which is unusual. We don't normally do it like this, but I would like to just point out at the bottom that there is a chat box. And if you go to the chat box, you can write in there and you can put questions in there, which Natalie will also moderate. Alternatively, you can send her your email address if there's something that you want emailed to her or her to you and things of that nature. And I'm going to start asking a couple of questions. And if you don't mind, please tell me how many of you have already embarked on the QCTO accreditation process. So you can just go down to the chat box and go, yes, me, no, me, or whatever it might be. Have you embarked on this journey? Because it's useful to know how far and how deep we need to go into the topic. So is this a senior group of people that know a lot? Or is it a matter of that it's a pretty novice group? I think there are a couple of novices over here, and we all start off as novices. So that would help enormously. So if you don't mind, stick your message down there. I see Quibby says no. Gerald says no. Hi, Gerald. Okay, not yet. Okay, who else is going to just go?
Leonard said yes.
Leonard said yes. Good. Lee, I'm not too sure what Lee said. Natalie, what did Lee say?
Dion, no.
Natalie can open up.
Lee said no,
Not yet.
Lee said no.
not yet.
Dion says welcome. Thanks, Dion. Fantastic. Okay, so once we know a little bit about you and how much you know, then obviously we can get in really, really deep. I recently wrote a book that I'll be talking about as well on the QCTO system for us, for small businesses, for training providers. And the whole idea is to explain how the process works. Because if you, like me, the first time I came across it, it was a little confusing. and lots of terminology, lots of jargon, lots of acronyms, lots of the glossary for QCTO and SAQA and SETA and NQF is sometimes very confusing and sometimes almost duplicated. One thing means two things, or
Yes.
it's crazy. But in any case,
and never mind the numbering.
Yeah,
There's about 5 KTO-101s.
Oh,
You just got to know which KTO-101 is where.
But Penny has a statement which she said, now we love rugby. So she said something about Russie.
You just need 1 point. You just need 1 point to win. And that's exactly what our mission is to make things a lot easier for you, to take away a lot of the hard work, fill everything in as far as possible for you. So that in terms of the accreditation process, and also not just the accreditation process, but also the FISA process, which is also another whole challenge on its own, so that you can focus on what you need to focus on, which is the quality of your training.
100%. And making money.
And making money.
I mean, that at the end of the day is what it's all about. Okay, so now we're going to go across to PowerPoint. If there's anybody that's just joined us there, the question is, and please answer it in the chat box, have you started on this QCTO journey? How far are you? How much information do you need? And things of that nature. Great. So Natalie, the time is so you can start editing at about 6 minutes past, and we'll go straight to the PowerPoint. I need confirmation that you can see this. Right. Can somebody just confirm you can see this very concerned looking lady?
Yes.
She really does look concerned, doesn't she? Okay, so the invitation went out saying, stop trying to figure out QCTO alone. Because if you're on your own trying to sort this thing out, it'll take you a couple of weeks. It took me the better part of the Christmas holidays to fully understand how to develop QCTO training material. So this is what we're going to be doing, is we're going to be providing you with as much practical information as possible, and you can then take it, use it, don't use it. We'll be recording this and then upload this recording to YouTube this evening. And then the whole idea would be that you can go back to it over and over again. Natalie will send you the link to the recording if she's got your details. If she hasn't got your details, I'll give you her number just now, and then you can make sure that you send her your details so that she can send you the link to the recording. Okay. The next thing I need to say is I'm not a lawyer. I actually have a law enforcement background. I spent about 10, 12 years in law enforcement, and I enjoy criminal legislation and the Occupational Health and Safety Act and its regulations and the Mines Health and Safety Act. That's all criminal legislation. And there is a process that we go through to get to know it and understand it. But if you need legal advice, please call a lawyer. Okay. Now, I said I was going to give you Natalie's other number, and I say other number. Some of you may already have one of her numbers, but this is Natalie's new number. So grab your phone, if you don't mind, and take a photograph of her number. It's 069 652 9696. That's 069 652 9696. And if you load her on your phone, you'll be able to message her and she'll be able to message you. And we love WhatsApp because it's so much easier, a lot less or fewer clicks to get a message like we want to send you something. Much easier to get it through to you. Okay, so who are we? And for some of you, it might be the first time that you've come across us and you don't know who we are. Well, we've been around for the past 14 years in this form. Prior to that, I had a training company called INTRA-Train. It was one of the first health and safety training companies in South Africa. I worked for NOSA for a couple of years and then started INTRA-Train. And after a while, Penny and I decided what we would do is we would actually help people like yourself set up their own training departments or their own training companies. And that's what we're going to be talking about today as well. We're members of Saiosh, we're members of APPEDT, and we're members of IOSH. And those are three bodies which look after and support the occupational health and safety training field and training world. We have a team of people. It seems to be all ladies, but there are a couple of guys over there. And you'll get to know them. We have, there's Penny and Natalie, and then there's Maritza and the lady in the middle there with the quizzical look on her face. Her name is Deline. The lady with the big smile on the right-hand side, her name is Monique. We call her Unique Monique. The gent at the bottom there, looking very intelligent, is our accountant. The gent with the grey shirt is very involved with our e-learning platform. And the young man with the black shirt, he is our IT guru. So that's a little bit of the team. We have other people that work with us from time to time. And then, of course, we've got about 100 of these licensees. Now, if you think of our business, it's pretty much like a franchise. It's not a franchise, but we've got about 100 franchisees from Cape Town to Cairo. And we actually have been very, very fortunate. Over the years, we've signed up about 300 licensees, and one of whom Leonard has come back to say hello. Leonard, that's fantastic. We really appreciate that. Nice to have you with us again. And for those of you that don't know about us, these licensees operate around the country, and it also makes a very, very useful collaborative platform. It's quite a word there. Collaborative platform, and you can collaborate with people. Okay, so the principle of what we're saying is we would like to invite you to become a QCTO accredited occupational health and safety training provider. And that's the invitation. And we have a system that will take you down there. Our website is INTRA-SAFE.COSA, and you'll receive a document, if you haven't already received it, called the prospectus. And if you haven't received it, you can just WhatsApp Natalie and say, please send me the prospectus. And maybe she wants to just drop her email address into the chat box as well. So very important from a research point of view that you can go and look at it and see what's going on. And we are now evolving it, our model, yet further. Here's an interesting statement. There are currently about 17 million employees in South Africa. And those 17 million employees all have to have some or other occupational health and safety training and or support and so forth. The vast majority of these 17 million, about 6.5 million, fall under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, whereas about 500,000 people fall under the Mines Health and Safety Act. So I often look at it and I go, wow, that is a huge opportunity if you're setting yourself up in business. There are millions and millions and millions of people that would benefit from the training that you're going to provide them. So bear that in mind. Our big focus, of course, is the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and we know because it's criminal legislation is really important to get it right. And I'm going to extract one or two sections from the Occupational Health and Safety Act, or we call it the OSA. Section 8 is probably the most important section as a start point. It's the employer's duties, and it says the following, and this is like a little formula, and I've broken it up into 3 steps, step 1, step 2, step 3. And if you like, a formula is literally, if you want to set up a training company, here's the basic model of your formula. Step 1, the employer shall establish hazards. Now, those of you that have been in the world of health and safety for a while, that's a HIRA, hazard identification and risk assessment. So that's step 1. Establish what hazards, what dangers, what risks are attached to the work performed, etc., etc., etc. Once you know, the employer knows what hazards, then the employer must write the necessary precautionary measures or safe work procedures, safe operating procedures. That makes sense, doesn't it? And then step 3 is, now that we know what the hazards are, and we've got these written precautionary measures, we then take them and we insert them into information sessions, instruction sessions, or training sessions. So there we go. Identify the hazards, write the precautionary measures, and then provide the necessary information, instruction, and training. It carries on a little further, and it says, and supervise. Very important word. So look at those 3 steps there. That's what you're going to be doing for a client. So let's imagine you're going to go along to ABC Engineering, and you're going to talk to them and ask them, what are the hazards that are attached to your work? And if they can't do it, you could get somebody to help you and help them get it. Get an understanding of what those dangers, hazards, and risks are. Then step 2, then step 3, and that's where you come and play your part. Okay, these words are really important, or these steps at least are very, very important. And this is something that you need to bear in mind. If you go to a client and they say, we need health and safety training, you go, first question, thank you very much, I'll help you, but what are your hazards? Now, if they can't actually show it to you because they've never done a HIRA, what you can do is you can offer to do the HIRA for them. Or alternatively, you can collaborate with one of the licensees and you can have them do the HIRA for and on behalf of the client. Then it jumps from section 8 to section 13. This is the employer's duties to the employee. It's called the duty to inform. And it says the following: the employer shall, as far as reasonably practicable, and I'm sure you know that term, shall cause every, that's cause 17 million employees to be made conversant with the hazards to his health and safety. Interesting. There it is, clearly. Now, as you look at that, you might see there it says conversant. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, immediately, we've now got our 3 steps. We're going to set up our training around those 3 steps. And now, this is the outcome at the end of whatever session you're running, whether it's an information session, an instruction session, or a training session. And by the way, those are 3 different things, and you measure them differently. And one of the measurements is that this employee must be made conversant. So let me just use a quick example. Let's say you run an ergonomics workshop or a talk or something like that. When the employee leaves your session, they must be able to converse and tell their friends, their colleagues, their family what it was all about. That's conversant. Ndifunda isiXhosa. I speak a little bit of isiXhosa. I speak a tiny bit of French. I speak Afrikaans, but Afrikaans is nie te sleg nie. And of course, my home language is English. So I'm conversant in English and Afrikaans. I'm not conversant in French or in isiXhosa. I can understand it fairly well, but I don't converse in it. Interesting word. It's a word that comes up in the law. And those of you that have studied the law will know this, that you've got to read the law and understand the words. Then we move on. We go, fine. So now we've identified the dangers, hazards, and risks, and the employer must provide information, instruction, and training. Have a look at that list over there and see which of those topics you're familiar with and which of those topics you can actually run workshops or information sessions or toolbox talks and so forth. Kobe said that she was doing first aid training. So that's a topic that she's familiar with. And baby firefighting, and so forth, and so forth. That's quite significant, given the fact, and we'll come back to this list, given the fact that the employer is supposed to make sure that the employees are conversant in the relevant topics. Okay, moving on from there. Then we also know that the legislation talks about a thing called competency, and talks specifically of a competent person. I'm sure you've heard that before, and I'm sure that you've heard of certificates of competency, and I'm sure you've heard of the regulation called the Regulation on the Certification of Competency. It's an Occupational Health and Safety Act regulation. Now, there's a definition there, and this is really important for you. Very important. If you're going to go out and you're going to promote health and safety training, these are words that you're going to have to literally get to master. Now, let's quickly read it for you. A competent person means a person who has, it says, in respect of the work or task to be performed, the required, okay, hold on to your hat, knowledge, training, and experience, and where applicable, the necessary qualifications. So let me stop here for a moment. I'm going to ask you to go to the chat box, and I'd like you to just pop in the answer. Who declares the employee competent? The inspector? The training provider, the employer, the supervisor, the employee themselves. Who declares the employee competent? Go to the chat box and just put in one word, and we'll come back to that. Then we move on. And it says there that this competent person, and it speaks of being specific to the work of the related tasks, must be competent based on a qualification and or training as registered in terms of the NQF That's the National Qualification Framework Act. And those qualifications and training must be regarded as the required qualification and training. Okay, we'll leave the bottom line out at the moment. So here's the next question. The next question is this, not who, but how? How do we declare a person competent? Is it somebody that goes on a training course and gets a certificate, and somebody who doesn't know the employer and or his risk profile declares them competent? And where's the proof of that? And should there be a prosecution? Wow, interesting. Okay. So now we can see that we start digging into this stuff. And this is what the Occupational Health and Safety Act has in terms of the standards for training. I'm spending a little bit more time on this so that you understand this is no longer the case. You go, what? Okay, so where do we find this definition of competency? You'll find it in a regulation, and I'll list those regulations in a short while. There are currently 22 regulations that are attached to the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and as you go through those regulations, you'll see that there's a definition of competency. And competency is that definition, and you'll find it always in Regulation 1 of the Act, of the regulation. There it is. If it's there. If it's there. What if it's not there? How do we declare a person competent? So I'm challenging you now because we're going to be talking about the QCTO and certificates of competency. So let's come back to this in a while. Then it says that this employee, the competent person, must be familiar with the Act and the applicable regulations made under the Act. Now, I was in the training industry for many years, and I'd run a training program. For instance, I run a basic firefighting course, an industrial firefighting course. How much time on that one-day program did I spend on the relevant aspects? And how much time did I spend on the applicable regulations made under the Act? Now, if you start piecing this all together, you suddenly realize, oh, much of the training that is actually being run out there is actually, it's insufficient. It doesn't cover all of these things. Okay, we'll come back to that. Then I said, whoa, disappearing. Well, here's an interesting thing. There is a draft construction regulation that came out a little while ago. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. You can Google it and you can download it. And they've taken that out. There's no more reference to the National Qualification Framework. That act is not referenced. You go, what? Yep, absolutely. So when I was in police college, I had an instructor who said to me, you don't have to know the law. You need to know where to find the law. And you read it through once or twice or three times, so you know more or less what's in it. You don't have to know it offhand. You don't have to know these sections other than Section 8 and Section 13 and Section 16 and things like that. So you read the Act and you go, where is that piece? Well, it's gone. They're taking it out. It's disappearing. Is that going to be the case? Well, it's a draft at the moment, and we'll see what comes as a result of the promulgation and what comes out of it. Now, I mentioned to you that you can find competency in numerous regulations. Of the 22, there are 13 direct or indirect references to competency. Direct as in it is defined, or indirect as it is implied. And that's also a very important thing. So now we're talking about not tests and examinations and assessments. Now we're talking about legislative information that needs to be in the training or communication realm. I'm going to go to number 7, which is general safety regulation. And there it talks of a certificate of competency for first aiders. But there's no definition in that regulation of competency. It's implied. And then you ask the question, what is competency and where do we go? Okay, so I asked you to go to the chat box and to please pop in the your understanding of who declares this employee competent. We'll unpack all of these things in various sessions. And those who become licensees, who will spend a lot of time with you just talking it through, making sure that you understand the process. Now, I do need to mention, and many people are under the impression that it's this Occupational Health and Safety Act is like civil law. Nothing can happen to you. They can slap you on the wrist or maybe, but there are fines and a possible imprisonment as well. Okay, so moving on. Here's the next question. Is there or are there unit standards or QCTO curricula or curriculum for these regulations? And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Have a look at number 4 there, ergonomics. Okay, so now we have a look at this whole accreditation process, and we'll get into it. You may or may not know this, but the accreditation process is run by, dealt by, managed by the Department of Higher Education and Training. They are then set up, and they are then authorized to establish an organization called SAQA, which is the South African Qualification Authority. SAQA are authorized to establish various bodies such as the SETAs and the QCTO. What is a SETA? It is a sectoral educational training authority. And for every single sector in industry, there would be a SETA. There's something like 21 of them. However, there was historically a lot of concern about the SETAs, whether they're actually meeting the needs. So there was a parliamentary meeting some time ago, probably about 3 years ago, and they decided...
More than 10 years ago.
Oh, Penny says more than 10 years ago. She's the historian here. And they then decided that they were going to segue, they were going to transition from the SETAs to the QCTO. You go, why? Well, under SAQA, SAQA would write unit standards or standards for training. So I just mentioned firefighting. So there's a standard that was written. And when somebody runs the training program, that training program should follow the standards and the curriculum and the content of that unit standard. Sure you understand that? And there were 11,000 of these things, I'm told. Crazy. 11,000.
Lots of duplication.
Okay, an enormous amount of duplication. Okay, I don't want to give you examples today because we don't have sufficient time. But then they said, well, fine. They, being Department of Higher Education and Training, that's why they're in red, they said, we're scrapping all the unit standards. All of them, all 11,000. With a stroke of a pen, they scrapped them all. And we then said, wow, you can't do that. What are we going? What's the standard that we're going to train against? And there are so many fly-by-nights in this industry that it's critical that we have standards that we work by. So they brought some of them back. They, being Department of Higher Education and Training, they brought some of them back. They extended them. And those extensions were until June or the end of June 2026. So we have very little time before it falls by the wayside. Now, we had a big discussion last week. There's a good possibility that they might revert and say, well, okay, and then we'll give you another 6 months or something like that. But either which way. Then, as a result of that, they then empowered QCTO. And the QCTO were then told to write curriculum. And curriculum, as we know, that is a standard on its own. And with the QCTO, you've got 3 levels. You've got qualifications, and you've got part qualifications, and then our interest is skills programs. Okay, so now we look at this and we go, right, have they, this is the Department of Higher Education and Training, and them, that's the Department of Employment and Labor, have they done the job? And sadly not. And I'll show you why I say that. They've missed out on so many of these things, which makes it incredibly confusing. Now, at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see that there is a website there, www.qcto.org.za, skills programs. Take a photograph of that. That is going to be absolutely invaluable for you, or a screenshot if you know how to do a screenshot. It'll be invaluable for you to go on there because you're going to get a lot of information. But let's go back to point 4, ergonomics. In 2019, the Department of Employment and Labor brought out a regulation called the Ergonomics Regulation. Sure you all know about that? In 2020, we had the visitation of COVID. And for the next 2 years, very few people did any training on ergonomics because we weren't allowed to travel around. So that happened then. If you look at the ergonomics regulation, there is a definition of competency there. And we go, great, it's that pretty much that definition that I read you just now. And in that regulation, it talks about a risk assessor, an ergonomic risk assessor. So we went, hallelujah. Let's have a look to see whether SETA, actually, or SAQA, has an ergonomics risk assessor definition and competency unit standard. Yes, hallelujah. Okay, so they did the job there. But what about the average employee? This is somebody that maybe a foreman, a charge hand, a supervisor, or somebody like that. What about that person? Because we need to train them. And you'll be interested to know that in the ergonomics regulation itself, Vinny, how many times did they mention?
27, you said. 27 times?
27 or 28 mentions of training in the ergonomics regulation. Now, if you're a business-orientated person like we are, we go, wow, that's a wonderful opportunity to get into the training world. We could do ergonomics training. 27, I must count it again. References to training, and retraining. It actually stipulates retraining. So now we see, good. Okay, let's have a look and see if there is a unit standard for employees. And guess what? Never have they written it. Now, the reason I'm telling you this long-winded story is this. You as a training provider may find a client saying, yo, we want you to come and do accredited ergonomics training, which is not unreasonable. And you would need to know enough about this stuff to say, I'm sorry, that's impossible. And they go, no, but there's an ergonomics regulation for risk assessors. And you need to know enough about this stuff to say, I'm sorry, that expired. It was one of the regulations or one of the unit standards that the Department of Higher Education and Training scrapped. There's nothing. There's no standard for ergonomics. There's no standard for asbestos. Can you believe that? It's crazy. However, with the first aid one, they have gone mol. We had unit standards from SAQA, and now we've got curriculum from the QCTO, and we've got it. It's in place, dankie toch, and we can help you with that. Okay, so that's why I say you need to know the law, but you also need to know the SAQA, SETA, NQF, QCTO system as well. Now, there are two links over there that you do need to have. The first one, when you go on to that first link and take a photograph of it or do a screenshot, go on to that and you can search to see which unit standards still exist. They've actually done a very good job, and it's handy. You can go there and insert a title as an example, or a unit standard number, and it'll tell you whether it is in existence or not. And the bottom one is the one that we spoke about, the QCTO one. So the question is, can you run accredited training if there are no curricula or no unit standards? The answer is a sad no. Nobody can. Nobody can. Now, our own company, we were SETA accredited, but they've not renewed any of them. So we have to go through the process of going to the QCTO, which we don't mind. However, are there and have they written the necessary curriculum? So with this information, you can put a smile on your face. There's a lot that we can do, and we'll share that with you and hopefully bring a smile to your face, because yes, it is possible. And I mentioned the Afrikaans word doenbaar. That is doenbaar. And we'll talk to you about it. Now, we've been writing training material for this entire process, but let's just quickly get back to what we were saying earlier. So there I was running a training company, and then Penny and I decided 14 years ago that we'd assist people to get up and running, and we created this licensing system in terms of the Consumer Protection Act. And those are the different licenses that we've got. Starter, Basic, QPACK, which is the one we're going to talk about today, Prime, Prime Plus, and Platinum. We'll focus on QPACK. And to help you with that, we've got a website, and we've got a proposal or prospectus document that will tell you about our licensing model. So everything you see in white or light gray is part of the QPACK. That which is in orange or gold is not part of the QPACK. That's part of one of the other licenses. And then, of course, because we're talking QCTO, there's a lot more that comes as part of the QPACK. The QPACK is a name, it's a bundle, it's a training license, and that means that you can get up and running relatively quickly. And we feel this is a very, very advantageous thing to do because you don't have to do it alone. You've got a team of people. We already introduced some of the members of the team that are there to assist you. Okay, so now I said good news. The QCTO has, in fact, been developing curricula. To say that they are hot off the mark, they're rather slow. Often liken the QCTO to a bucky that's stuck in the sand and the wheels are turning. Looks good, makes a great noise, but not much happening. However, we have now got 8 training programs that we can use that are low credit programs. And what I mean by credits, well, you'll see on the left-hand side there is a number. It's SP230801, and that's the Basic Emergency First Aid Responder course. And it's a level 2 program, and it is 2 credits. Now, in our orientation sessions and training sessions, we explained what is level 2, level 3, level 4, NQF level 4, and things like that. Then you'll see that there are 2 other programs, Basic, Intermediate, and Advanced, and a program called the Occupational Health and Safety Risk Assessor. A risk assessor, what is that, HIRA? Then there is an unusual title, 604 is Essential OHS Compliance Insurer. So I ask everybody wherever I go, what the heck? Have you ever seen this word insurer before? And nobody knew. I've never heard this word. It's actually not in the dictionary, in English dictionary. Some smart guy at QCTO or HWCTA came up with this word insurer. It's actually a term that comes out of this, I think, the 14th or 15th century. So it's not a common term. But nevertheless, what is the insurer? What does the insurer do? Well, they're supposed to make sure, as the word says, that the law is being applied. That sounds a little bit like an inspector. However, 2 credits? How much authority would that person have? Then we've got the next one is the Occupational Health and Safety Representative. We've got a low risk. And by the way, there's also a high risk program. So we're not listing all of the programs here. We're going for the low credits, the easy to run programs, the ones that are really important. There's evacuation marshal and incident investigator team member. So these programs you can get accreditation for, and we'll talk to you about how. Now, remember I gave you the links and I said, go to the website and have a look there. And we've got an opportunity to download 2 documents. And those 2 documents for each title, the one document, the one on the left-hand side is called the curriculum. And the one on the right-hand side is called the program or program document or the document document. Peculiar terms, why they couldn't come up with another term. I'm sounding quite critical at the moment, but goodness gracious me, make it easy for us to understand these things. And this is where I found myself, not the QCTO, found myself spinning my wheels. Just could not get my head around this thing. I didn't understand it. And it took me a long time. And then I had to write a book, which I've got. And it will be available on our website shortly. That just explains how the process works. We'll get to more of that. So essentially, I said to you that we've got 8 programs, and you can download 8 curriculum. So you can see what must be in the program. Then once you know what's in the program, then it's up to you to write training material for those curriculum. Or get it from us, or get it from somebody who is a established training material developer. Okay, so with that in mind, we'll take it one step further. When we write the training material, we don't just write a facilitator guide. We also write all these other documents that go hand in hand with the curriculum. Now, I know that's a little bit small and you can't see it, but I do want to say this while you're looking at this screen. If you're going to buy training material, good and well, but do a due diligence. Inspect this stuff. Because sadly, there's an enormous amount of stuff that is doing the rounds, which is absolute trash. Not worth you spending money on it. And I say that again and again and again and again. I even tackle some of these people that sell these programs. And do you know what's happening at the moment? And this is just an aside. What's happening is some smart guy wrote the training material. And well done to him. Yeah, Penny says he used AI to get it in any case. And it's so obvious. Then he now had a pack of this stuff, and now he distributes it. So if you want to become a distributor, you can sell his training material. And I say to people, send me a sample. They send me the sample, and I go, I know exactly where this comes from. Over and over and over, and people are trying to make a living out of selling really, really, really poor health and safety training material. So that's a word of caution. Am I angry that the QCTO doesn't have a standard for curriculum, for training material writers? Yes. We're going to have standards for everything, but they don't have a standard for people who write the material. Can you believe that? How crazy is that? You've got to be a facilitator or assessor or a moderator. You've got to have your company accredited. But if you want to write training material, you just download the curriculum off the website. It's free. Write some material in terms of hand in hand with ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or something like that. And that's good enough. No, it's not good enough, because Claude doesn't know the Occupational Health and Safety Act and its regulations, nor does Gemini, nor does ChatGPT. They've got a pretty good idea, but not the detail. Okay, so from there, what I'm going to suggest you do is this. You can do it with us, or you can do it with anybody that you're looking at their training material. You say to them, great, I'd like to look at your training material. Now, they send you an example of the training material, but they don't send you the whole pack. You just get maybe the facilitator guide or the learner guide. So what we've been saying to people is, please We will spend some time and go through the training material with you one-on-one, person to person. I will do it, Penny will do it, or somebody will do it with you so that you understand what's in that training material. We also see, by the way, that many of these training programs don't have PowerPoints. And yet in the curriculum, it talks about software and projectors. And you buy training material now, you must spend another 1,000 or 2,000 Rand getting the visuals made up. So take a photograph of that link. And what will happen is that, or you can chat to Natalie, she'll send it to you as well. Or Nats, maybe you can stick that link into the chat box as well. You can go on there and you can book a session with myself. And we'll just schedule it in such a way that it's maybe no more than half an hour, but you can gladly invite all your colleagues and associates and friends to have a look at it. If you get into, we have a couple of clients that we call them platinum licenses, and you need a lot more time on it, I'll gladly do that. But please, and I'm saying this now, I'm appealing to you, be cautious about the material that you buy from a content point of view. Okay, so enough said on that point. Let's move on. So what we did is we then decided, fine, we've got the mechanism, we've got the model, we've got the training material, and now we're going to put a special license together just for the QCTO. We call that the QPACK. And the QPACK will deal with all of these issues which I'm going to talk about now. So if you're a QPACK licensee or a prime licensee, we'll talk more about that, information in our prospectus, this is what you're going to receive. There is a workshop that you attend with Penny. She's got a thing or a package called the Accredited. Then we run an assessor, facilitator, moderator workshop based on the Q book. And you as an individual, as a QPACKer, can get any 5 of the existing 8 QCTO-aligned training materials.
Thanks, Ken. So at the moment, we have the 8 QCTO skills programs for OHS. We're very, very proud of the quality of our development team. They've done an amazing job. We've actually also just finished refurbishing and upgrading the 3 first aid ones because we just felt it was such a jump in quality and delivery in terms of making use of this new team that we wanted to do that for our licensees. So that's actually being delivered to them this week. And that does include PowerPoints as well. And yes, I think the workshop it's a 2-hour workshop that we do every month. You can attend as many of these.
Sorry, Penny, you said it doesn't include PowerPoints?
It does include.
It does, yes, it does.
It does include. But originally, our first aid skills programs did not include the PowerPoint. So this is a lovely addition, very, very helpful, of course. And in the workshop, we kind of like really highlight the signposts and the timelines and give you a broad idea of what's going to be happening and point to where you can find everything that you need within the Accredited Google Drive. This program, we started in January 2022. 2022, is it really that long already? I can't believe it. But it's really just been growing in strength. And so many of our licensees have already gone through the process successfully with the QCTO. They had a lot of compliments regarding their training materials and the preparation of their site visit. So we're super excited about the program. We do also do an advanced kind of like hand-holding for those that need that and prefer that, which we call the Prime Plus solution. And that's where we actually project manage your accreditation from beginning till you get that letter of accreditation in your hands. Tomorrow's session, the 16th of April, for those of you that would still love to attend that and not miss another month, you're absolutely welcome to attend. Maybe you can get hold of Natalie and pay a deposit, or just do a confirmation with her as quickly as possible, and you'd be more than welcome to attend that session. It's from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock tomorrow, and our guest speaker Maritza Kruger is also taking us through the whole FISA process, which is extremely important element and often overlooked. There are certain ways and steps that you need to follow in order to get your QCTO certificates at the end of the day, and it's quite a process. And if you don't know what you're doing, then it's going to be a big problem. And some people have had 2 years worth of delay, etc.
So this is a journey, and Penny's going to talk you through the journey step by step. Obviously, you decide, I want accreditation.
Absolutely. So you probably already do have a company, a PTY Limited, so you can't get accredited in your own person. It needs to be in a legal entity, and it can also be an MPO. I think somebody was here from an MPO. We do have other MPOs that we've assisted as well. And then I think, look at the different curricula, look at the training materials that you want to be presenting. And get an understanding. I think that's where the QBook really comes in and explains all these acronyms absolutely brilliantly. You can develop your own learning material if you prefer, if you have the time and you have the expertise, absolutely. But certainly we'll short circuit and fast track your road to success by being able to provide that training material for you. And it really is an extensive delivery.
Expensive or extensive?
Extensive. And, includes a learner orientation manual, includes, all of the necessary forms, etc., that go hand in hand with the FISO. So it's very, very detailed. And we're very proud of it, I must say. Then the Forms 3 and Forms 4 are partially filled out for you. We also have a annually reviewed QMS template that's available to you as part of
QMS?
It's quality management system. So that's available to you as part of the Accredited Google Drive. It's updated every year, and it's totally in line with the QCTO policies and procedures, and that's incredibly helpful for you to have that. It's a massive document. To do it on your own would be quite a headache. You will need to have a facilitator and assessor for the QCTO. Your facilitator is also the assessor. So if you don't have those relevant qualifications, you will need to get those in hand, or you will need to have an SLA with somebody that already has those qualifications in hand for your accreditation process while you get that in place. You will need your own moderator, or once again, an SLA with a moderator that's going to work with your team. Very, very critical, important. Once you've got all of your documents together, you're going to submit your application documents to the QCTO online. There's a whole online process. We take you through that in every detail. And then the QCTO will refer your folder back to the partner SETA. In these cases, for the OHS ones that we've done, it's all HW SETA. And the HW SETA will appoint a verifier that's going to be in charge of your site visit. We help you with all of the preparations for your site visit. We can also do a rehearsal with you of your site visit with one of our licensees that is actually or has been a QCTO verifier as well. So you are 100% confident when that site visit happens. And we're really getting great feedback on those. From there, the HWC sends the folder back to the QCTO for their final rubber stamping, etc., at their committee meetings. And then your letter of accreditation will be issued. During all of that time, you've also been sending your FISAs through for approval from the QCTO, because they actually have to approve your FISAs. And
what is a FISA?
Your final integrated summative assessment. So it's like the final exam. And there's a whole process there, and it's very, very important that you understand that process up front. Otherwise, you will waste a lot of time and a lot of money and get totally stressed out. So there is a way of doing that successfully, and we'll unwrap that tomorrow. And as you enroll your learners for your courses, you go through this whole process quite carefully and deliver your training. The credits, the curricula do tend to be fairly bloated. So what used to be a 1-day event or a 2-day event, you probably find you're going to need another day. And you may still need another couple of days before you can actually nail that FISA as well. So it is a different process. You're going to have to price it differently as well. And we do cover that as well. So yes, it's all about the assessments. The QCTO are very heavy on assessments. So as brilliant as you are as a trainer, your ability to actually integrate those assessment processes into your training is absolutely critical. The QCTO insists on delivering hard copy certificates, or you must collect these hard copy certificates. Logistically, it seems like that might end up being quite a nightmare, but this is an example of what that certificate can look like. And you would then need to disperse those through to your learners. Back to Ken.
So you can see there's quite a lot involved in that. However, here's the good news. Baby steps, literally one step at a time. the first half of this slide over here is only done once. Once you've got your accreditation, then you do the second half. Maybe I should break up that slide into these two sections.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point that Ken makes, is that the process is very repetitive. So I think Leonard already said he had his accreditation already. And this is one of the reasons we decided to empower our licensees to do their own accreditation, because once you've done it once, you've got all of your files in place, you've got all of your documents in place. You just need to update the dates of the certifications of your documents, and you'll be able to go through with the next application. You can only apply for a maximum of 5 skills programs at any one time, but you do not have to wait until you have your accreditation for the first 5 before you apply for the next 5. So if typically you wanted to get all 8 under your belt as soon as possible, then you would do your 5 plus 3 quite quickly. We do also have, by the way, have many more OHS skills programs in development that will be coming through in the months of April and May. And then as the new ones are published, then we tackle those as they become available to us.
What is the duration from start to finish, Penny?
Generally speaking, it seems to be an average of about 6 months. I think the fastest has been just under 3.5 or 4 months, but on average 6 months. And there are places within the process that you can clip off time if you are organized, and we definitely share those with you. But I think you need to bargain on about 6 months.
And how many people are actually applying for accreditation at the moment?
Many. I've got no idea how many people nationwide are applying. I mean, I'm sure it's becoming an increasing tsunami, and as we get closer to June, I think that tsunami is going to get larger and larger as people wake up to the fact that unit standards are expiring and they need to get this accreditation in place. So we definitely recommend and encourage each and every licensee to get their accreditation. We see it as a very important credibility step for you. You may or may not be involved in a lot of QCTO accredited training. It's something that you'll have to see how it fits in with your particular clients. I think a lot of your clients are still, the majority of your training is going to be legal compliance training, because that really fits the bill and makes sense economically as well. But QCTO accredited training will be a requirement. It's more and more. So I think it's good to get into it now and understand the process, not be afraid of the process.
I heard from somebody, but we won't mention her name because you know it's a very, very sweet lady, that all health and safety training has to be accredited. Is that the case?
It's definitely not the case. And I think, Ken, you made a good point earlier. Go to the law, have the necessary references. A lot of our articles that we make available to our licensees in the Google Drives gives you all of those references so that you can use that with your clients and you can explain to your clients, because sadly, it is a situation where you are going to be educating your clients as to what is required and what is necessary and what can be done.
Absolutely. So I'm going to suggest that you get the prospectus from Natalie. You'll be able to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and then you'll understand a little bit more of the process. Penny, what's this all about?
So this is just some images of some of our licensees, you know, in terms of their site preparation. You can just see the detail and
the quality.
And the quality of the presentation. Very, very important that you create a really, really excellent first impression, if you like. And yeah, very proud of our licensees and the high quality that they present at all times.
You said the other day in the presentation that more than 50 of our licensees already received their accreditation. Is that right?
Yes, I think with the SETAs, it was more than 90% of our licensees. We got through the SETA process successfully. And I think that was really helpful because with the lack of progress with the QCTO and the problem that they didn't have any replacement curricula to offer, their SETA accreditations have really set them in good stead. So I think that was a big advantage. And now, you know, every week we have a new licensee that has become accredited, and you're very, very proud of their success.
Wow. Okay, that's a mouthful. Okay, now we're going to talk money, because obviously this you understand this. It's a business model. You're going to be receiving a lot of training material, and you're going to be receiving, gosh, an enormous amount of support. Now I'm going to ask Natalie to quickly just unmute yourself and take us from the top just Platinum, Prime, QPACK, and then Basic and so forth, and just explain the pricings of your nets.
Sure. So our Platinum license has an upfront fee of 105,500, which is usually negotiated based on the number of branches and employees. We usually like to set up a one-on-one call just to ascertain what your needs are. And that has a, sorry, my phone is ringing and it's interrupting this. The Prime license comes in with an upfront fee of 49,500. All prices are exclusive of that, with a monthly license fee of 1,500 per month. The QPACK, which is what we discussed today, comes in at 27,500 with a monthly license fee of 500. Our basic license has an upfront fee of 29,500 with a monthly license fee of 1,500, and our starter license has an upfront fee of 15,500 and a monthly license fee of 500. The training material can also be purchased individually for 4,999.
Okay, let me stop you there. Sorry.
There's a mix up there.
I was just pointing that out.
Jenny pointed out. So the legal compliance training is how much?
Is 2,999, and our QCTO training material is 4,999.
How they say,
and those prices are inclusive of that, while the license prices are exclusive of that.
Yeah, a bit confusing there. And then you persuaded our good marketing manager that you wanted a birthday special. So you want to quickly talk about that, and these are the prices.
Yes, so we have a birthday special for the month of April, and that's 10% off the upfront fee if paid by the end of this month, and that's also if you pay it in full. We do offer payment plans, but the discount is not on payment plans. If you would like a payment plan, you can discuss that with me. Our payment plans incur a 5% admin fee that can be arranged.
Absolutely. Okay, so Natalie is authorized to negotiate if you want to talk to her about payment plans. And obviously, you can split the payment 1, 2, or 3 months or something of that nature. Now, having said that, at this stage, you're probably wondering which of those would work for you. Or alternatively, what we want to do is we want to say to you that, for instance, if you go for the QPACK, you can add the QPACK to the basic, which takes you to the level of Prime or thereabouts. Now, it's not exactly the same amount, but you can build on it. And for us, it's literally a matter of that you start somewhere along the line and grow your business. Now, it doesn't end there, because you probably figured from what I've been saying is there's an enormous amount of information that is either fact or fallacy or fake news or stuff like that. Lots and lots of people are misled, horribly misled, when it comes to SETA, QCTO. Somebody the other day said to me, the SETAs are scrapped. And we went, no, the SETAs are not scrapped. The accreditation process is scrapped. You cannot get accreditation from them. And the unit standards come from SAQA. So that's not SETA. So the SETAs will play a role, and that's part of the larger educational spectrum. Then the SETAs are now helping the QCTO extensively with the accreditation process. So we've not scrapped, or the government has not scrapped, the SETAs themselves. And we run these workshops and orientation sessions and webinars on an ongoing basis. If you become a licensee, there's an operations manual, there are recommended viewings, and one of the things that we feel strongly about is AI, and we run workshops on AI. We run workshops on ISO. We run workshops on these new training programs as they come out, and we unpack them so that you don't have to dig through every single thing. So with that in mind, I also want to say to you, if you decide that this is what you want to do, please take advantage of the fact that there is a network of people, Cape Town to Cairo, literally. And you can go Durbanville to Dubai. We operate in 8 different countries, and those 8 different countries in Africa mostly are English-speaking, Portuguese-speaking, or alternatively French-speaking. And if you happen to have a client that happens to be in Angola and you need somebody that speaks Portuguese, no problem. One of our licensees, or more than one of our licensees, are actually Portuguese, similarly French. And you can then collaborate with these people. Now, we don't get involved in that. That's something that you do with them. But it just means that literally starting your business on Monday, you've got a team of a couple of dozen people you could call on, facilitators, assessors, and moderators. You've got people out there that can assist you. And I use this example in closing that I got an inquiry some time ago. Somebody was an auditor or a consultant on a game farm, and he contacted me and said, Ken, what do you know about putting in an airport on a game farm? In fact, it was for a helicopter. He needed to know what the standards were for helicopters, refueling, they call it bunkering, and hangering. Hangering, is that the right word? Putting a helicopter into a hangar. I said, I don't know. I don't know, but we've got licensees that do know. And there are 3 licensees who are all pilots, one of whom used to be an airline pilot. So we've got people that can help. Then the question that comes up now is that we're starting to run out of time is where to from here? And Soweto isn't just a district. Soweto is where to from here with you and your decisions. I'm going to suggest that you ask Natalie to send you the roadmap. And the roadmap is literally a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. What do you do when you put the phone down after chatting to Natalie? Read this, go through it, highlight it, print it, take it to your accountant, take the prospectus to your attorney. If there's somebody in your family or your group that is really knowledgeable about legislation and agreements and undertakings, give it to them because it's a business arrangement. And for those of you that are looking at doing this as a proper formalized business, not just as a sideline, please note that you can build a substantive training business. We said there are 17 million people that need to be trained. 17 million. That's a heck of a market. And I started INTRA-Train with nothing other than a little NOSA pension check. And eventually it was Cape Town, Durban, Joburg, PE, and East London. And I was operating there with individuals and or freelance people and or in some instances I had an office there. So you could build a decent sized training business for your family as your end of career income, things of that nature. You can sell the business, you can bequeath the business, you can put in a manager to your business, you can run the business on an ongoing basis, and you can literally grow this business for your future. So with that in mind, I'm going to say to you that you may want to set up a meeting, speak to Natalie, ask the questions, draw up a list of questions, and then ask the questions. And what we're going to do now is we're going to stop the recording, and we are going to open the microphones, and you can ask as many questions as you want. So if you want a quote on it, there's Natalie's number. You can just WhatsApp her, and she will then provide you with a proper formalized written quote of our accounting system, and she will talk about the discount this month. And the discount is for the month of April and comes to an end in how many days, Penny?
Wait, about 6 days, 5 days?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. So you've got 2 weeks.
15 days.
16 days.
16 days.
There we go. So I want to say at this stage to Penny, thank you so much for your input and your contribution. I'm going to ask you to wrap up. And Natalie, thank you to you. I trust that there's going to be a flurry of people just asking questions, and we'd really welcome you to do that. So our suggestion is become a QCTO accredited occupational health and safety training provider. If health and safety is not your game, I trust that the session has been useful so that you have a much better understanding of how the process works. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Penny and ask her to close down.
Thanks, Ken. Well, that was a lot. But we are going to open for questions shortly. Thank you so much for your attention today. For those of you that are desperate to attend the workshop tomorrow, you're very, very welcome. As I say, please just make an arrangement with Natalie so that we can include you in that workshop tomorrow. The next one will be in May sometime, towards the end of May. And then for those of you that are going to be in Johannesburg, we will be attending the AOSH Expo the first week of June, and we certainly look forward to seeing you then. But in the meantime, I hope that you will take this opportunity to join us and to get started with your license journey so that we can get you going as quickly as possible, and certainly with regards to accreditation, help you get your application in as soon as possible for your first set of OHS skills programs.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Back to Ken.
We look forward to supporting you. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And as I fondly say, play safe, stay safe. Bye for now.